Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for today's case I'm going to be talking to you about is the Matthew Landry murder. So Matt Landry had been a perfect doting boyfriend when he mysteriously disappeared one Sunday afternoon, leaving his girlfriend, family and band members baffled. A 21-year-old pizza delivery driver had a sick girlfriend before he went and mysteriously disappeared, and this was from a suburb that is in Detroit. The Sunday morning in August 2009, Matt had drawn a hot bath for his girlfriend, Francesca Bomarito. He had made her a cup of tea and brought it up to her along with a thermometer before asking Bomarito if he could get her any fast food. And according to the Dateline, Secrets had uncovered airing Wednesday at 8:07 on Oxygen. Bomarito, a waitress who had shared Matt's love for music, had then declined the offer and instead decided to take a short nap while Landry left to go and run some errands. But Bomarito's doting boyfriend had never returned. It would have taken a seemingly unrelated string of crimes in the days that had followed for investigators to piece together what happened to the promising musician. Those who knew Matt described him as a very good-hearted and quiet guy who loved to make his friends laugh. As the youngest of 5 children, he was still living at his parents', Doreen and Bob Landry, in the Chesterfield in Michigan home where he had disappeared. Creating music was what he was the happiest with, Bob Landry recalled at the time that Matt spent practicing along with his bandmates. Matt's interests had expanded to including his new girlfriend shortly before he then disappeared. Everyone, including Bomarito, his parents and his bandmates, agreed it was unlike this 21-year-old to suddenly take off without any explanation whatsoever. By Sunday night, Bomarito began calling local hospitals and police stations. Quote, I wanted to know, like, maybe if he had gone into a car accident, maybe he got a flat tire on the side of the road, maybe he's in a ditch. She said, I don't know what happened. His mother, who had a background in banking, did her own sleuthing by logging into Matt's bank account. She was immediately troubled by what she had found. The last transaction on his account was $300 withdrawals from an ATM on Detroit's famed 7 Mile, an area plagued by all the crime and gangs. What was Matt doing at the 7 Mile in Detroit, she asked. Why would Matt take out all of his money all out of his account? Although she was hoping the transactions had been made by her son, it just didn't sound like something he would do. The next day, his parents reported Matt missing to the Chesterfield police. The same day, in another suburb of Detroit, 19-year-old Sarah Maynard was having her own harrowing day after going to the bank to cash her first paycheck from a dog kennel where she had gone and worked. As she entered the Harrison Township Bank, she noticed a guy. And he had some sunglasses and he had been watching her in a very peculiar way. She tried to ignore the man and went directly to the teller's window, but the guy then had followed her inside. Quote, I handed them my check and then as soon as I set the check on the counter, I felt the gun to the back of my head. Maynard recalled this to Dateline. Correspondent Dennis Murphy, quote, he said, give me $50,000 or I will kill her. The teller quickly handed over what money she had, but the gunman didn't want to leave without Maynard and demanded that she would come with him or he would kill her, in a move that investigators would later credit with saving her life. Maynard refused and sat firmly down on the floor of the bank. Frustrated, the man eventually ran off, leaving her behind. Meanwhile, Chesterfield police had made the disturbing discovery that the person captured on Detroit gas station surveillance camera making all those unusual withdrawals from Matt's account was not actually the missing 21-year-old. Still desperate to find her missing boyfriend, Bomarito went out to search. Quote, I can't believe I'm doing this right now, searching through dumpsters for my boyfriend. I didn't know what to do, she said, while holding back tears. As she got into Detroit, she saw a group of police cars and drove up to discover that the authorities had just found Matt's green Honda abandoned on the street. By Tuesday, August 11th, 2009, Roseville Police Lieutenant Ray Blarek was just learning of another blazing crime, and this was in a parking lot of a nearby Walmart. The owner of a red Honda Civic Police that while he was in the car, he was approached by a gunman who told him to get out of the vehicle. The carjacking was thwarted, however, when the gunman discovered the car was a stick shift and he had been unable to drive it. Nearby, another officer noticed a man wearing a large wig, who quickly took off running when he spotted the police. During the foot chase, the suspect tossed a gun and clipped before he was taken down by a taser. Blarick immediately recognized the now handcuffed man as the same man captured on the surveillance footage, robbing the Harrison Township Bank just the day before. Quote, he is a violent suspect. He's involved in 2 things that we know of so far, and who knows how many others, Blarick told the Dateline Secrets Uncovered. Blarick began to wonder whether the same suspect identified by the authorities as IHOP Masalamani could have been involved in Matt's disappearance, a theory that was later confirmed after investigators discovered a map that was in Matt's abandoned vehicle with a targeted bank that had been marked with a letter X. The surveillance footage from the gas station where Matt's money had been withdrawn also. It had seemingly matched a suspect now that is in custody. However, authorities still weren't sure what had happened to the missing 21-year-old. They get their answer after a 911 call that was unearthed from a witness, who had then called to report seeing a carjacking outside of Quiznos sub shop that was in East Pointe, the same day that Matt had gone and disappeared. Quote, he's got him by the neck now. I think he's putting him in the trunk, the concerned caller said at the apparent kidnapping. Quiznos had been the last place Matt had used his debit card before the ATM withdrawals. The salesperson inside remembered he asked what kind of sandwich would be best for his sick girlfriend. His family was still hoping that Matt would be found alive, but the heartbreaking truth emerged on Thursday, August the 13th, 2009, when Blarick and his partner discovered his body inside a burned and abandoned home that was in Detroit. Matt had been shot in the head. Quote, I remember the chief of police coming to the front door. I knew when he walked in, I could tell by the look of his face what he was going to tell me. I didn't want to hear it. This is what Doreen remembered. Investigators then would later determine that Masalamani wasn't the only person that was involved in the 21-year-old's death. Robert Fat Daddy Taylor, who was just 16 years old at the time, was also arrested and charged with murder and kidnapping. Both men were found guilty of murder and sentenced to life without parole. Quote, it took 1 second, literally 1 second to end Matthew's life, and that 1 second has literally turned our family upside down, Doreen said. Quote, he was there to get a sandwich for his sick girlfriend, and in that 5 minutes it happened, says the prosecutor Eric Smith. My son was a wonderful person who lived to help others, and he was just such a great joy, Doreen said. The 21-year-old from Chesterfield Township died back in August 2009 at the hands of convicted killers IHOP Masalamani and Robert Taylor. Landry had been shot in the back of the head at an abandoned home This was in Detroit, after being abducted from outside the sandwich shop in Gratiot and 10 Mile Road. Quote, "This did all and torn my family apart, and this is to use his credit card to buy some gas and dope," Smith said. He adds that as a result of the US Supreme Court decision, Masalamani's sentence will be looked again at the Michigan Supreme Court. At this time of the murder, Masalamani was only 17 years old, technically a juvenile, just 3 months shy of 18. That's despite the fact that the court heard the appeals confirmed life without the possible parole. Taylor was age 16 at the time, and his sentence then had been impacted. Masalamani was also convicted of armed bank robbery and carjacking following Landry's murder. Quote, "Neither has ever expressed remorse for what they did," said Doreen. Prosecutor Eric Smith says a date for the hearing being state Supreme Court is being set. He's making sure his office is fully prepared to argue for keeping both men locked up for life. Identified Robert Fatty Daddy Taylor, then 16, at the other individual involved in Matt's kidnapping and murder. 18-year-old Ihab of Flint was convicted of first-degree murder, carjacking, kidnapping, and 4 additional charges in November 2010. His acquaintance Robert Taylor of Detroit was also found guilty of 5 counts, including Matt's abduction and homicide, and following month, both men were sentenced to life without parole. Okay then everyone, so that is today's case. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe and hit that notification. Until next time, take care. Bye bye.